Hello, good morning. I'm Naomi Mejia Reyes. My teammates are Andres Fernandez, Camila Rodriguez, and Alexis Calderon. And our project proposal is about an evaluation of reaction time across different age groups using a visual stimulus test.
This project evaluates and compares reaction time and reflex performance across different age groups using simple experimental tests to analyze neuromotor function. Reaction time and reflexes are key indicators of nervous system efficiency and coordination. These abilities change with age and are important for daily activities and overall motor performance. Study goals and objectives. The main objective is to compare reaction time between different age groups, evaluate various reflex types, and analyze overall neuromotor performance. The participants will perform several tests, including a falling sticks test to measure reaction speed, a button response test for reaction time, a blink reflex test using visual or auditory stimuli, a cervical rating reflex test to evaluate postural control, and a simple motor response test using foot movement.
About safety considerations, the risks are minimal, but for example, in movement tests, it can be a mild loss of balance or muscle strain, especially in older adults, and therefore we're going to have some measures such as exclude these individuals with not balance or recent injuries, and we will have also warm-ups and rest breaks. Talking about follow up after testing, study objectives are going to be explained. There is not going to be a long term medical follow up, but if we detect that the reflexes are slower than we expected, then we're going to advise to the participants to consult their doctors. And about data management, the recorded data is going to be reaction time, success rates, age, sex, physical activity, etc. Also, the participants are going to have a special code and the data store is going to be accessible only for researchers. In this project, what we expect to find is that young adults have fastest reflexes, then older adults slower reflexes, and children and adolescents intermediate between young and adult results. Then, and this matters because it helps to identify which reflexes decline most with age and fall prevention through early identification of slow reflexes.
Well, we have the duration of the project, we have different phases, and we have the planning and approval, the preparation, the data collection, the data analysis, the final report and presentation. Each point is going to take like 1 or 2 weeks for each other, so it means it's going to take like 1 or 2 months for everything. Problems that may occur, we have the limited participant availability, we have the inconsistent testing conditions, the human error in measurement, and the participant performance viability. And we have a solution for each point, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Well, about the ethical considerations, we're not gonna have like a big trouble with this because this study doesn't involve like a big risk for our participants, but some ethical aspect still need to be considered to ensure that participants feel safe and informed about what we're doing. First, everyone will be clearly informed about the purpose of our study. No sensitive or delicate personal information will be required, and all this information about what we're doing will be explained in an informed consent form, which every participant will read and sign before starting with the project.
Reaction time and visual motor coordination have been widely studied in the past in both fields of neuroscience and biomechanics, and we have listed a numerous amount of articles showing and demonstrating that the reaction time is linked to the age, specifically that young adults have better performances compared to children and older adults. The proposed experiment will be conducted exclusively by the student team that is involved already, and we won't have any external institutions help us in this case, but we will seek some external informal guidance from our biomechanics professor in case of any doubts about how to perform the experiment. And for the links to other projects, this is special experiment isn't linked to any particular article or study, but we think it will be very helpful for some potential follow up research. For example, analyzing the reaction time on larger populations or exploring how training or practicing can improve the reaction speed performances, and maybe even study how digital sensors would help this type of experiments for a more precise measurement.